Hello everybody, Darren here, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Now in the last episode, I got started on building out a circuit board factory, as it's one of the components that we're going to need in making computers. But it's also used in adaptive control units, and so is computers, which is what we're going to also need to get us to the next space elevator phase. Now the building framework is all done in the previous episode. We built the train station into the top floor, so now we just need to actually populate it with machines. Those machines are going to be assemblers, and we're going to be using an alternate recipe to allow us to make circuit boards from quick wire and plastic. Two components that we already have factories for, and we have a rail line passing by those factories already, so we just have to hook up kind of miniature train stations to them, bring the materials here, get the things built, deliver it all up in one nice little package, and start printing out circuit boards. So let's begin. Over on the right hand side of the screen, we've got a to-do list for the remainder of this factory. It's to get the assembly room up and running, a control room, which is something I've never done before, logistics for the whole thing, and then get that transport route up and running. Now, if I sound out of breath, it's because I am. I'm sick. I don't know how after getting sick again. People have been following me for a while. I've been sick like 3 or 4 times this year. I think I've been doing this for 5 years, full time, and I was never sick for the first 4 years, but I'm being hit over and over and over again this final year. So apologies, but it was either this or no episode whatsoever, so I'll try to not sound so sick. It's just a head cold. It's not too bad. I feel totally fine and just physically, I guess, a little run down, but mentally feeling good. All right. Anyway, just thought I'd get that out of the way. Let's just hop on into it and get started. Got a big plan on different things that I want to get done. I haven't actually tried the control room idea, but it's been something I've talked about with the other factories before. Always trying to improve, always trying to get better. If you remember the oil processing plant factory, one of the issues is like all the light switches are all in different rooms, all the power switches, different rooms and things like that. That was the same with the motor factory. Going to try and get that all into one area now. So this is our factory floor. This is what we're going to be working with. And then as we progress through the episode, I'll talk about what I've done in between episodes as well, which is mostly to do with tweaking rail lines and stuff. I've just left a little bit of concrete here for me as well because my inventory was full. I need to pick up some other things. So let's get started. So when I was kind of planning out what was going to go in here, I realized that actually this stairwell is going to have to change just a little bit. Really, I want to be coming out here. So we're going to start building up there. So we'll go like this. Concrete all the way out. And I'm just going to drag this all the way to the end. Pretty much. Is that 10? Sure. All the way to the end. Then we're going to go 1, 2, and cut across here to match the window. And have it relatively symmetrical. Try and do that on the other side as well. Alright, so I'm also going to just make this coated concrete. This is going to be our walkway that leads into the building. And there. Alright, cool. So you might remember from previous designs that I've done, if you've seen them before, I like to basically have this like underfloor, area so I can work out some of the logistics, maybe hide some of the wires, things like that. That's kind of why I've decided to go up a layer. I could go down a layer, but I don't know. It's just messy. I think it's just easier to do it this way. There's a lot of headroom and space, so I felt like going up made more sense. Alright, cool. So, with that laid out, this is going to be the assembler room. This is going to be the control room, where we've got a bunch of switches controlling basically everything. I'm hoping that this will be the storage room for extra storage. We might extend this building out a little bit. It could always come out a bit further. There's no problem with that. It fits under the railway anyway. And then this room is going to be the manufacturing room. That's at least the plan. So we're not going to do the manufacturing today. That's going to manufacture computers first. This is going to be a hybrid circuit board and computer factory. Seeing as computers need circuit boards, seems to make sense just to kind of build them in the same place. I'm sure at one point in the future as well we might do high-speed connectors. Alright, let's get started. So, assemblers. I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be my best factory yet. So, always getting the first one placed down is kind of the trickiest thing, because you gotta make sure that things are in the right position, and then everything after that is pretty straightforward. So I'm just trying to remember exactly where the middle point was. I think I did it here, and then pretty close down, something like this. I think that's as far down as I want to go. Once that first one is down and in position, I think I'm good. I think I would. Yes, this is it. All right, cool. So we'll start from here. We just need to. I'm gonna be building 12 of these. 2, Is it just 2 across? I think it's 2 across. Like a gap of 2 between them. And that just kind of keeps things even with the length of this room. So, something I've been normally doing when I'm building these factories is I often work out the rates of, you know, what I'm producing and what I want to make in order to get to the, you know, good that I want to produce. So, for instance, when I was building the motor factory, I knew that I wanted 15 motors per minute. I just knew that because motors were made in here. You make 5 per minute. So I was like, 5 is so low. It sounded low anyway. So I was like, yeah, why not make, you know, why not triple it? And then I just worked backwards from there to see, like, basically tripling it I thought would, like, kind of future-proof me for a while. And it seems to have done that. The motor factory is, like, just maxed out and I don't even need them. But in a similar situation here, I feel like I'll probably need even more. But 12 is more than I can even make right now. By a lot. We don't make near enough plastic or quick wire just yet to even be able to do this, but it should at least future-proof me for a while. And the way we're going to build a factory is kind of modular, so this factory will be able to be powered on in weird and wonderful ways. So I think about here. Okay, it's always tricky getting that first one down, but once that one's down, it seems like it's in the right spot though. So yeah, so basically, we're making 8.75, I want to say, circuit boards, and we're doing 12, so we'll work out how much that is. But that would be the capacity, I suppose, without anything being overclocked. Of course, we could always toss in some overclockers here if we feel like we have the power. We can always make it go a bit quicker if we don't have the space to extend it. Okay, there we go. So that's 12 assemblers. Straight up. Alright, so next thing would be doing the floor holes on the roof above. So they're going to just get fed their components from straight up above. Above us is the logistical floor. It's just left there empty, 2 in height, I think, 2 wall height. And it's just ready to take in stuff from the train stations above it. So we don't need a floor hole here, but actually what's quite nice, a nice little tip is, if I've got concrete on the bottom here, and I've got concrete on the top here, and they're aligned with each other, all I have to do is look at this and then look up and I know where things have to go. So I know that's going to go here and then a gap of 2 across. That's what assemblers have. And then here and then a gap of 2 across. So it's nice actually doing it this way because I know that's just going to be in the center. It makes it much easier and takes away all that guesswork. Is that it? That's it. Should be aligned. We could just test that, right? By grabbing elevators. Let's go down to the bottom, work my way backwards. Dragging this down, boom, snaps in. Alright, there we go. So that should be all 12 assemblers hooked up with their belts, feeding up to the floor above us, where we'll do the logistics a little bit later. And then, of course, we need our mergers in the center to kind of send all of these circuit boards out on the same belt somewhere else. So I'm going to face it out towards that way, which is where I said the storage room may or may not go in the end. I've sort of loosely planned out how I want to do this. This is kind of how I typically do these builds. I never fully plan it out. I've got a basic idea in mind. I kind of look at the rooms and see how many machines I can fit in them, and then I kind of just go from there and say, okay, like this seems like it can fit storage, but it seems maybe a little tight. So that's why I'm like, perhaps we have to go out another layer a bit further. So we'll get to that, obviously. Cross that bridge when we come to it. So pretty straightforward. These things are going to be making circuit boards. Actually, just really quickly, we'll scroll down. Hit alternate Caterium circuit board. Copy the settings. So that's 12.5 plastic per minute, 37.5 quick wire. So if we want to work out those rates, you know, let's do 12.5 times 12. That's 150 plastic is needed to operate this area. What was it? 37.5 quick wire times 12. That's 450 quick wire. We almost make enough of that. We make 420 at the moment, actually, so that's not too bad. It wouldn't take too much to get another. We could just overclock, really, and get it going if we needed to. And then how many circuit boards are we going to make? 8.75 times 12. 105 when the whole thing is up and running. And that's not underclocked, but that's at the regular standard rate, right? Without overclocking. Okay, so let's hook them all up. So because it's only coming out a small little bit each time, we'll just use these standard belts. Mark 1 belts feeding into the main bus. And because it only goes to 105, we can just use a belt of 120. I guess for the main bus kind of thing that we have here, you could increase it to make it zoom by super fast, but I like to have belts that are kind of full, but I suppose if the belts might chug, it might not look too good. Although it shouldn't chug. I think it'll be fine. Let's use Mark II. It's 120, so even if all the machines are up and running, it should be okay. Now, if we overclock the machines, of course, we'll have to have a better belt. Okay, so that's all done. All hooked up. Looking clean. Looking nice and clean. Alright, so before we do anything else, let's get a walkway going. And then we'll put down some of the... Actually, no, we'll do power next. So let's get our power poles. This is where things get a little interesting. I'm planning on having breakers and switches for every 3 machines. And then for every single manufacturer we have. So because I know that I don't have enough components to actually power this entire thing on at once, I want to be able to go into the control room and flick the switches on to say, power the first 3 on, the next 3, the next 3, and the next 3. That was at least the vision. We'll see how this all goes. So what I'm hoping to do is kind of keep in line with this thing. And do a line there and a line right next to it. And just follow that along, basically, on the line in between the crack of the foundations. Alrighty, so I've basically just added 2 power poles to the right side of every single assembler that we have. Now, not all of them need 2. We only really need 1, but for aesthetic purposes, I like to just keep it even. But what the idea here is that I'm going to connect one line all together, all the way down to the very end. Oh, it's super hard to see, but there we go, good. So that'll be connected to here, so that's one. This will be connected to here, that's another one. And this will be connected to there. That's another one. So for those poles are not going to be used. They're totally fine. So we'll leave them blank. The next ones are going to be used though. So this one connects to here. This connects to here. And that connects to the very end. So these are 2 separate lines, right? None of these poles never connect to each other. They just connect to the next one down. And then we can do this. And there we go. So what we've got is the row of power poles closest to me, powering the last 3 machines, and the row closest to the wall, powering the first 3 machines. And we'll even call these machines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we'll have that numbered in the control room so that we can actually kind of know which ones we're turning on at a time. So it's very important to make sure you're organized when you're doing this, otherwise things can get really messy really fast. And keeping these rows separate is really important also. So another thing I want to do is we'll just get this wall really quickly. One of these walls. Stack it like here. It might be good to even have a door at some point. We're going to make a double wall outlet. We'll stick one right here. Maybe can we go... Yeah, we'll just go here. That's fine. Another one there. So again, keeping that kind of layout the same. This hooks up to the one on the left. This hooks up to the one on the right. And then these can come through underneath the floors and come up this area when we're doing this area out in a few minutes. Alright, so we just have to basically do the same over on this side. So, very same thing. 2 power poles each side, except the only difference this time would be the actual power node things are on the left rather than on the right. But otherwise, still pretty good. So we'll just hook them up in the center. Not like that, sorry, wrong. I want to do it down here. 1 and 2, and we'll just do this all the way down. Alrighty, there we go. So, just hooked up this line, the exact same as the other side. So this will be like, I'm going from left to right. So it's going to be, you know, rows 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10 to 12. So that's kind of how it's going to go. And like I said, keeping these separate the entire time as well. They never cross paths. They're just next to each other for aesthetic purposes. I suppose if you want to be a bit more minimalist, slightly, there's actually another way of doing this that I'm planning on doing for the manufacturers, which is having overhanging sort of painted beams that feed these things down. But for the assemblers, they're so far lower than the ceiling. I didn't want wires traveling too far up to the ceiling. This way it just basically keeps it tucked in at the machines. And we're going to be having a walkway going straight through here, which we can do now. So we shouldn't even really get to see the power poles unless for some reason we're just jumping and flying up above and looking around and stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of the plan. So just underneath, to recap, we have double wall outlet here, so we know that this is machine 1 to 3, this is 4 to 6, like I said. This is 7 to 9, and 10 to 12. So we know where they're coming in. As long as we keep those lines separate and just feed them into power breakers, we are all good. So, let's go with... I've been meaning to do this for a while. Let's find the road barrier. And I'm just going to hover over number 6. Can I do that? There we go. I should have had this pinned to my hotbar a long time ago, because I do use it quite a bit now. So of course, if we want to offset our foundations, we can build a road barrier like here. And then we can get ourselves a door. And now we're centered. Nice. We'll just get a wall that goes up to here. And then we'll get our lovely full frame windows, which will double up to be kind of 3 panels because of the offset. I know you can hold control. Alright. And there we go. So, this room's a bit weird. This is a 2-size foundation. And I'm not sure why. But putting a wall here, you know, we've got 2 on the inside and then 2 through the foundation that's going into, clipping into, because this wall is obviously 4 in height, right? So 2 are on the bottom exposed and 2 are literally going to be in the foundation. But what happens is, upstairs on this floor, we can see it sort of like clipping through, which I don't like. So I don't want that. So what I'm going to do instead is use basic wall 1 meter and just drag that across, and then get another one right on top of it. Now there's a problem in and of itself with the 1 meter foundations. They don't look very good on top of a wall. Like if I was to drag that up, there'll be a clear difference in the pattern. It's actually super ugly. So, but being tucked away up at the ceiling, I think you're not really going to notice it. And I haven't fully decided, but I might actually be bringing this down another layer, just another 1 layer. So at that point, it won't be noticeable at all. So we'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it too. Okay, so the next thing, glass foundations as a glass floor. Unlocked from the awesome shop. So to get that to line up, we have to look at the wall that we've just put down, like this, and then we'll just zoop it out. Boom. All right, nice. Now we can see underneath. We can see all the circuit boards flying by. Always like to have a little bit of glass foundations in there. Thinking it can look quite good. So I'm just going to copy what we've got down here on this side. So I'll just do that now. Alright, there we go. Same as the other side. I'll have to do the middle bit now. Not too sure exactly how I'm going to do this, but I tend to like to have... I don't like it to be just completely glass. But having a bit of concrete there, maybe this could be glass. That could be glass. Yeah, I think if we put down a road barrier... maybe here? I think that would look good. I think. Let's grab this. Yeah, so I'm just a bit not confused, but just working it out in my head how far this is going to go. So something like... this is the same as the other side, right? I think. And this should just break things up a little bit, so it doesn't look so crazy. Because otherwise, I don't know, structurally it would look really weird just to have a giant window the whole way across. Yeah, so this would be strange. So what we have to do here is just put another road barrier in the middle. Get this one, clip into it, go up. So it actually looks kind of nice because this is a 4 panels, if you want to think of it that way, right? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 in the center for the widest bit. And then on the left we have a 3 panel, and on this left we have or on the right we have a 3 panel. So kind of nice. Just get some distance so you can see. I think it looks cool, and we'll see all the different belts, everything flying down as well. Even though it is, I guess, their back, but it should look good, I think. And we get some lights going as well, that'll look nice. I'll just finish off this roof. Alrighty, so let's have a look at what we got. So a fully encased room with 12 assemblers inside of it, all powered together. and feeding out on the underflooring, so that we can get fed into a control room. So the next thing then would be just some nice little touches. Just going to add some barriers so we don't slip and fall all the way down there. All good. This, you know what, actually, I was just thinking, maybe really quickly, I'll just buy... Yeah, I want to buy some new music, because the music player is acting a bit weird. Just hop over here for a second. Give me my tickets. Alright, let's have a look at some of those extra tapes that I didn't get in the previous episode. Also, been meaning to get this for a long time, billboard sets. Let's just do that. 10 tickets and you get a small and a large billboard. They're huge. Both of them are huge. So what do we have? Fix-It specials. The tapes. So we have Classic Michael Boombox, Sanctum. Let's just get them all. 13 tickets. Not a big deal. And then we can just go like this. Change tape. Let's try something. I don't know what Classic Michael is. Le Michael. Okay. The call me Lil Boxin. They call me Lil Boxin. All right, just something a bit different. Alrighty, let's continue in. So like I said, I gotta fix these stairs at some point because they're wrong at the moment. We have to have that come up a layer at a different time. So. Damn, this music's good. Right, the next thing then, I want to number these, what's it called, machines. So, just going to go for organization. We've got the new big billboards. They're a bit too big. I just want a square sign, yeah, to go in between. So, there's one right there. And one there. So, you get the idea. That's just going to go on and on. So, I'll try to cut that out in a second, but what I'm going to do with it is go to layouts. We're going to scroll down, just go for numbers, element settings. This is going to be number 1, emission strength 2, colors. I like to use gold, the gold that I made, the preset. Copy these settings, just like that. Setting pasted. I don't think so. Copy settings. There we go. Might just do this. Copy those settings, and then all I have to do is type the number. Yeah? Alright, let's do it. I'll do this for all 12. Alrighty, there we go. So every machine has its corresponding number, just in case I ever get confused with where these ones are again. Nice and simple, and also looks pretty good, I think. A glowy number at the back of them. Alright, cool. So, next thing. We've got so much to do in this room. We'll be putting a roof on. Because we do have these foundations here, and they look fine, but I really like the look of the underside of the rooftops that we've been using in some of the other buildings. So we saw that first in the fuel factory. Architecture roof flat. So I'm just going to put the roof in here and make sure it doesn't clip through the wall. And what I mean by that is, if it clips through, like I'll show you, it's kind of hard to see, but I think here it would be clipping through. Yeah, do you see that black line? We don't want that. Now, it actually doesn't look that bad, but it would be really difficult to wrap it around the edges and have it inside look good, because it would look like it's alternating direction inside, so you can't win. There'd be something wrong with it either way. Okay, cool. So we've got our roof placed on, looking good, nice and even, nice and clean. The floor holes, I do it after the floor holes, because there's a problem putting floor holes on roofs. It just works with foundations. It's not really meant to go through roofs, I don't think, so this way you get the aesthetic benefit and you keep the logistics intact by doing it in this order. Alright, the room is really kind of coming into its own now, but we need lights, of course. Ceiling lights, please. So I'll tilt them this way. We'll start on the first divot of the foundation cross there. And then we'll mirror that on the other side and just try and meet in the middle. So this is where it would be. I'll just spin it around though. Cool. So how many do we have in between now? We've got 1 there, 2, 3, 4. So a gap of 4 in the middle, not touching anything. So we're going to go 2 in. So that gives us a gap there and a gap there. And that should be even. I'll just hook these up together. So the plan here is to just feed this cable out through the wall and keep it on the ceiling. When the ceiling has these roof tiles on them, it's really hard to see the wires. Not that I mind seeing a little bit of the wiring, but at least it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. It looks like, yeah, this is meant to have wiring flowing along the top of it or whatever. Like I said, I might put some painted beams down to kind of hold the wires. That was at least the plan. See, in between episodes, I've been planning or playing around with different like ideas for how I do out this place. And for the manufacturers, I plan on using painted beams to make these sort of cable ladders. That idea was given to me, or at least the idea of cable ladders in real life was shown to me by someone in my Discord. And I was like, oh, that looks really cool. It'd be difficult to make that work in game, but for the way I'm doing the switches, it actually makes sense to have cables traveling alongside each other, not touching each other. Normally, you just pile everything onto the one route and feed everything out if it's powered, right? But we don't want to do that now if we want to have machines being controlled by different switches. So cable ladders actually make sense. I think that's basically it for this room. There might be a little bit I'm forgetting. I'll probably add the trim. You know, I like to add that metal beam trim to the bottom, but that could be a little messy. I don't know if I need to be doing that now, but basically like this and this. But I feel like when I'm actually doing the lights and stuff, I'll do that because I'm not sure how the roof is going to look just yet. So I don't want to start putting down the aesthetics before I'm certain of the layout. So I'll leave this bit here. That's fine. But that's probably what I'll have going back and forth. So this is the assembly room done, I think. Did I select these for every machine? No, I'll just have to do that really quickly as well. So just copy and paste the circuit board recipe and I'll just add it to every machine. We can actually access the machines from here, which is nice. So you can just do it real quick. I'll just do it now. Alright, cool. There we go. So every machine has its recipe. Every machine has its power cables all hooked up. The room is basically done. The room has lights for the future. Maybe at some point we'll put down the floodlights on the edges. I do like doing that. But this room is small enough that I think these lights will be enough. So we'll see. Alright, so let's toggle that off on the right side. That's the assembly room done. The next one is going to be the control room. This is kind of uncharted territory for me. So the plan here is to get level 1 foundations. Let's just use regular concrete, separate it a bit. Oh, not a concrete. Well, that's why I've left my little briefcase over here. Oops. Okay, so with that done, this room, again, this is early stages of like figuring this kind of thing out, but I don't know how to make this room look good, so it's just going to be, it'll kind of hopefully look cool on the inside, but I can't put windows into it, and I'll show you why. So the plan here is let's just build this wall all the way up pretty much. Alright, so this is a control room. I don't need to do the top layer just yet. I'm just going to put a doorway here. So that's our way to come in and out. And we might have another doorway in another way in a moment. I'm just not sure exactly where it's going to go. But what's going to happen here is we want that road barrier again. And we're going to create a wall cavity. And it's only going to be as thick as this. So we're not going to be able to walk in it. But it's going to tuck away our wires, hopefully. Let's wait for that autosave. Alright, so there we go. So you can see very, very thin wall. And we're just going to double up the wall all the way like this. Now I'm thinking I probably can have a door here. But it's going to have to be a bit weird. We're going to have to double it up. Because a door there will lead out. You're going to get this weird effect of 2 doors opening. So to cancel that effect, we can just tell this one to be always open. And now it just kind of looks like this. Which I think is just a bit better. There is technically, as you're walking through, you could be like, well, you know, I can see things, but I don't, does that matter? I don't think so. Alright. For convenience, it definitely doesn't matter. Alright, nice. So there we go. That's our way out. Now, this is where things get interesting, I would say. I'm going to cut away this wall. We're going to go with power switches. So we know we have 4 assemblers in that room. We want the, if you look closely at this building here, this machine, the switch is only on one side. You could do it that way, we've got little fire extinguishers, but I want this side where we actually see the switch. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, no doubt we're going to have more for the manufacturers. I think we're going to have 5 more. But I'll just leave it at 4 for now so you can get the idea of what's going on. So, they're built inside the wall cavity, slightly. And the idea would be cutting this away as well. A is going to be our general power, and B is going to be the switch power. So overall power, we'll just bring that up to here. Okay, so this is power in, you know, that's the mains, I guess you could call it. So just hook these up. Alright, our 4 switches are hooked up to the mains. Now, main power is actually right out there, so just temporarily, of course, just drag this up to here for now. We'll just give this power. So that's just a temporary thing. We'll take it all away eventually, but at least we can see how this works and that we got everything hooked up correctly. Okay, so what we'll need to do now is hook up the 4 switches to below. And we can see where they come in now. To help us see things, I think what would be a good idea also, is to just go with the glass foundation. Just temporarily, just so we can see what's going on when we're down here. So we know where we need to hook up things. So we have 1 to 3 coming in this way, so this can just go... yeah, pretty much right to there. So give me that. Just get one of these. See how this works. That's 4 to 6. Just to keep these a little neater. I love this music's cool. Is that right? No, it wasn't. Sorry. I was trying to keep it a little bit neat underneath because, you know, one day we might have to change these things and I'll be real confused. Alright, cool. So they're all hooked up. So what we just need to do now is I'm going to do clipping. Basically, we're going to clip the wire through just to hook it up to the machine. But you won't see the wire, so I think it's totally fine. There's no... while you have double wall outlets, you don't have a power outlet that goes from through foundations, which is kind of annoying. That's a small thing. Because you can go through walls, and conveyor holes can go through foundations, but there's no power outlet that goes through foundations. So I'm going to say, screw it. This goes through foundations, you know, ourselves. Okay, I think they're all hooked up. So let's now get rid of this. Put this back. We'll put this back in. Well, I actually never even put that in the first place. We'll do it now. We'll hide away our cables. So that's what we got. Remember, this cable's temporary. We'll get rid of that. But now we just have a little wall with 4 switches. And of course, we can give them a name. So we'll go assemblers 1 to 3. I'll just copy this. Okay, there we go. Now, it looks a little basic, so we can spruce this up. Let's try to make it look a little bit more interesting. So let's get a painted beam. Go like this. Drag it all the way over. This little wall cabinet is going to extend to there. Probably even further, because we're going to have, I assume, the 5 extra assemblers, as well as light switches. So there's going to be a lot of switches here on this wall. Don't really know if I could add them in anywhere else. I'm thinking of putting other things here, though. Maybe an awesome shop. Always like having that in the corner. Maybe the mom. It's kind of a, you know, it's a control room. We could be doing different things in here, of course. Speaking of, actually, we could be... oh, the analysis of a hard drive is completed. What do we want? Rubber concrete, steel-coated plates, or heavy oil residue, a new alternate. So crude oil, and you get heavy oil residue and polymer resin straight out of that. I don't know why you'd really want to do that. I don't think I'll ever be mixing plastic and steel to get iron plates. Rubber, I don't know. These all seem terrible. I'll just go with this one though. 45 per minute, 45, 40 per minute. Maybe I'll use this for some reason. Maybe. Do I have another hard drive? No. I'll have to go out and find some. Yep, looks cool. This doesn't look too good at the moment, but we'll make it look better. Let's just switch up the music again. Because we're repeating ourselves. Sanctum 2, let's try this. I never played Sanctum 2. Played the first one. Really enjoyed it back in the day. Alright, so this is what we got. What can we do? So, first off, we can put on some connectors. Get beam supports at the bottom. Paint it black, obviously. Paint the wall black. Paint the machines black. Okay, it's starting to get a little bit nicer. A little bit. We could do a little bit of signage, maybe. I think I remember this issue, actually. You can't have... Yeah. If I wanted to have a long line going underneath the beam to brighten things up, it's not... You can't rotate it. I can't scroll. Now, maybe there's a way of doing it. Let me know if you think there is one. But what I can do, though, is just use the square sign and just tuck it in that way. Oh, yeah. So we'll copy the setting of this. Just paste it. Now, these lights, they're kind of fake lights. They only affect your vision. They don't actually brighten the room up. But it certainly has a nice feel to it. It's a shame about the black lines, right? It's just, unless we can get signs that don't, that we can turn the labels lengthways. The long labels, like these ones, label signs. If we could do that, if I could turn them sideways, they'd look a lot better. Need them to fit underneath, because we're only using half of them. And do they clip? Let's see. They don't. They're in the other half of the wall. Nice. Look at that. Looks good. So yeah, I could extend that out, do it all the way around. We could even have a few on the bottom, maybe. Can we? Oh, I have got another idea. Let's do this. Drag it out along this way. Yeah. So, I'm just going to redo this wall really quickly and move these all up. It just means having to hook the wires back up. So apologies. I'll just cut ahead to that. Alrighty, there we go. Looking a little bit better now. I think it's starting to kind of take shape and look a little bit better. I was wondering what it would look like if we used the materials for steel. Well, unfortunately, because it would look more like a cabinet then, but then the letters sort of clip through, which is such a damn shame. You could maybe cover them with some small signs or something. Let's see. The 0.5 sign. Yeah, I mean, it'd be tiny, but it doesn't actually really fit properly. I mean, it doesn't look that bad like that. You'd have to let me know. I do like the metal look, but I think... Don't want to see any clipping, really. If I try the fix-it wall, we'd have the same kind of issue. So let's just go keep it with concrete, and I'll just darken the concrete. Black. Keep the machines dark as well. And then we have that kind of blue trim. Now, I've run out of crystal, so I can't really make more than that right now. I have to get some crystal in the factory. We're not that far from it, actually. It's just to the east, but I'll just leave it. So this is the control room, right? So control room, there we go. We have our little bit of trim lighting, looking kind of nice, giving us a little flare on the screen, even though it doesn't actually add any ambient light to the room. It still kind of brightens the place up a bit. Then we have assemblers 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10 to 12. We can just test it. We'll just pull the switch on 1. Of course, nothing's actually powered on right now. But we can see, there we go, 1, 2, 3. The lights are on, these lights are off. We'll pull the switch one more time, just do another test. Maybe let's say 7 to 9. We'll turn this one off. Ah, see, a little bit wrong actually. Oh no, it's correct actually. 7, 8, 9. Yeah, no, sorry, it's correct. I just for some reason thought it was going to come from the back. Nope, that works. That works great. So something I want to do is probably color these machines. I like black and yellow, but I might do something to do with circuit boards. Maybe make them a little green. Black and green maybe. But yeah, I'll kind of figure that out in between episodes. I'll just color black and yellow while I'm doing it right now. Just leave it like that. So there we go. And that's how you do, I guess, a power breaker control room, and how you keep your power lines separate and all of that. The very last thing, actually. I can't leave it without doing this. Just get those correct underneath as well. So now we obviously need to be able to deliver in the materials so that they get fed down the floor holes. So plastic and quick wire. So let's get to it. So if you remember from upstairs, we have train station kind of imports and then train station exports. And then now we have our floor holes showing where the machines are below us. So a little messy, right? Because, you know, things are going to have to get in the way of each other a bit. And also, I got to remember, it's very important to know what's coming where. So the way the trains are going to work is this is going to be quick wire. This is going to be plastic. This will be cable, and then that'll be screws. Because the cable and screws are going to go down below to the manufacturing room for the computers. So the idea would be, if we're making computers down here, we need circuit boards, which we're obviously going to be making in there, cable, plastic, and screws. And they've got 4 inputs, right? So in order to get that to work correctly and relatively efficiently, plastic will be coming down here, so it can be split some of it off that way and split some of it off this way. Quick wire only needs to be over there, so that's fine to stay there. Now this is the export area. I don't know if we're ever going to use these or these, but definitely this will be circuit boards and this will be computers to go out. So just to show you above, just in case it's hard to kind of, you know, map out in your mind how that looks without being the person who built it. This is the export station. So everything leaving this place, everything that this place makes and that's leaving here comes out of here. So right below these two, that's going to be the, like I said, either the circuit boards and computers. In here, coming in, these are flipped the other way. Coming in is going to be the quick wire, plastic, cable, and then screws. That's the plan. So let's just actually, while we're up here, hook these up first. So we've got a Mark 1 belt here. Let's get a Mark 4. We want these coming in as quick as possible, really. Mark 4, there we go. And then we'll just get this, drag it up. Oh, sorry. Didn't have it reversed. There we go. Alrighty, in it goes. Alright, cool. So that is quick wire and plastic. We just need to actually make sure we deliver it. Okay, looking good. Alright, let's just make our way back downstairs and we'll hook up some of the logistics of feeding all the different various belts and the assemblers. So it's only just like one layer down. Underneath here then we have the lovely floor holes bringing stuff in. The reason I'm using 2 is just because we can unload faster and distribute to more machines this way. So we've got a layer of 6 machines on this side and a layer of 6 on this side. So with this we'll bring it down, face it out so that, you know, 6 come in. Alright, so that's all of the quick wire elevator entrances done. And now I'm going to do the plastic. The reason I'm even cutting here to mention it is just because the plastic is going to be raised above the other one because they're too close together to be fed in next to each other like that simply. So what we're going to have is some sort of, just to get the layout, general layout like this, we could do, it's a splitter, right? So we need a splitter here. So basically, we need a splitter here. God, yeah, they're just snapping in. I'm sorry. So we need splitters all the way across. Is that going to be correct? Yeah. So splitters all the way across and then raise them up. So they'll have to go here and raise up and then get rid of the one on the bottom. So that way we can have a belt flowing in that way and a belt flowing in on top. So I'm just going to do all that now and then I'll rehook up these things. Alright, there we have it. So all of these splitters on both of these sides are now all hooked up for both the plastic and the quick wire, and they're on Mark 4 belts flowing along that then go into Mark 1 elevators that flow down, because that's all the assemblers really need. They don't need more than 60, so there's no need to really have belts that go faster. Not really, because things kind of just get backed up a bit quicker that way anyway. Alright, so the next component then is to pull down the what is it, quick wire that's going to be coming down from here. So we want the fastest belt that we have for that. Just drag it straight down, pull it out this way, I guess. Yeah, this is fine. Actually, I was just kind of doubting myself, but this seems just fine. We'll just pull this straight along this kind of area here. And in it goes. So then that's the quick wire, right? So quick wire comes down that way. It might even be worth maybe just having a sign, because I might forget. I actually, oh shit, I don't have the quartz crystal. It's funny, in between I actually have to drive and get more iron plates, and in the car, which I've left outside, there actually is quartz crystal in the back of it, so I'm just going to really quickly run out and get that, and then come back in. Alright, so with the quick wire sorted out, the next thing would be then pulling down the plastic. Now, plastic's going to be divided up into the manufacturers in a future date, but for now, it's fine just to send it all over this way, because we're not even producing enough for even just the circuit boards. So this is fine. So it needs to be about that height, I think. Seems okay. We'll scroll up. We'll take out our conveyor poles to help guide us in. There we go. Alright, good. Nice and clean, nice and orderly, no problems. Alright, looking good. Alright, so that's it. I think that's logistics done. Besides having to, yeah, maybe I'll just add a storage box for the circuit boards temporarily, and before we do a proper storage room in the future, when I know kind of how the manufacturing side of things is going to go. So out here. Yeah, so I basically know that underneath here is going to be, we need a wall hole. Gonna have to get a barrier. Shouldn't be an issue either, because we can just clip some walls and it'll be okay. Underneath the metal frame walls, you don't really even notice them clipping. They're really good that way. So we'll just get this, clip it in. Just to reiterate what I mean by that, if I grab this and I bring it over, you're like, oh no, you're clipping, it looks weird. Yeah, so what you can do is do this, bring this that way. I got confused myself there. So they're clipping through each other, but it doesn't look like it. It looks fine, and then we can just change the material of this one to steel. And there we go, boom. Clean wall, pretty much. Pretty much, don't look at it too long. Just grab that belt that we need. This one, Mark II. And we'll just get a storage box. Again, it's going to be kind of temporary until we get the computers up and running, but at least this will be nice to see it fill. Hopefully. Alright, there we go. So that's logistics done. Eventually, like I said, this will be a room that handles some other stuff too. Upstairs, I'm hoping that I'll put in some splitters, some smart splitters that can handle some overflow. Overflow will come down here. We'll have a room, hopefully in this room, or if I extend it, we'll put in an awesome sink. So anytime these things get full up or backed up too much, they just get awesome sunk and go away. Really only want that happening for the things that we make, not things that get delivered, of course, because that would be a waste. So we'll have to figure all that out. But, you know, it's good progress for now, I think. 12 assemblers all hooked up. The power situation looking good. The only other thing I want to do, actually, is before the first deliveries make their way up here, just make sure this is powered off. We'll power it on later, and then we can look at it all come to life. Alright, so that is logistics done. The last thing is going to be then transport route. So very quickly, I want to take you upstairs, and we're going to have a look at the train line, because I did a little bit of work on it since last being here. Do I have any spare? I do. Just want to take more concrete just in case I need it. I'm going to be building a platform, making a very temporary station just to get this running. Alrighty, you find me at the top of the building at the train station. I thought just really quickly I'd take a moment to explain the differences that I made from the previous episode to this one, mostly to do with the signals and the rails. But just really quickly, just to explain the overall rail setup here, we have the two different stations, right? One is the exports, so everything leaving the building is on this side, and everything coming into the building is on this side. Circuit City imports. Of course, train stations have a facing direction. So this is facing out that way, and because I've got a double lane network, two rails next to each other, it makes sense to have two different stations rather than have a station here and another one facing the other way on the back, where things can get really confusing. Don't even really know how that works, but I suppose if you've got a single lane network, you could try and do that, or just loop things. But anyways, I digress. So just really quickly, I've improved the blocking signals. I basically learned that in between episodes, signals can only be placed where there's a gap in the railway. So where there's like that cut point where you added on an extra bit of the rail, or where you made a turn or whatever. So learning that, I actually destroyed all the rails and rebuilt them so that I could get nice and even signals next to each other. Because previously I was just kind of dragging out the rails and not really like judging where they would end or where the cut point would be. But now the cut points are very deliberate indeed, and I'll explain that when we go over to it. Basically, if we just grab this, we can see the cream colored junction here. So any train that's coming through this area is going to kind of like make the entire cream portion here offline. And then I have a little signal right there as well, so that, and then just one outside as well, so that trains don't get kind of confused or backed up when they're inside. So that should be fine as well. They should stop. This one will stop before it goes inside if there's already a train in here loading and unloading. And same with here. This one won't exit if the junction is being occupied. The only negative to this kind of layout would be the fact that, let me just grab this, if a train is just passing straight along by here, no train is going to leave. You could have a very much more clever and optimal setup, whereas if you knew that you were going to head out and just go left, then a train that's approaching here on the right would never affect it. I'm fine with it though. You know, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, so that's basically the system. I basically just went around and added in new signals in a much more deliberate fashion by deciding and designing where the cut points are going to be. So effectively, because this is the only way out, right? If you're leaving out this way and you want to go straight, you just go boop, 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 off you go. But if you want to go to the right, you just take this little thing here and go to the right. These signals are automatic. They're placed automatically at junctions wherever a rail is going to split. And you can only ever have a split point of 2. You'll never have a split point of 3. And therefore, you'll only have a left and right direction on these things. And it just kind of automatically gets decided once the train is coming up to it and it knows where it wants to go. So that's kind of all just really straightforward. The only other thing then would be talking about the block signals and why I have them laid out this way. So the maximum length of a railway is, I think, 12 foundations long. So just 12 foundations long, and then you have to have a cut. So 12 is a bit short. I feel like you'd have a lot of signals that way, and I already do feel like I have a lot of signals. I decided to bump it out to 24. So 12, there's a cut point, nothing there, and then the next cut point, there is signals. Now, I didn't want the signals to overlap each other. In fact, I don't think they even can, or if they do, they don't look right and they look weird. So I purposefully staggered the right side of the rail half a foundation further on than the left side. And that way, the person driving the train, or the AI driving it, I guess, seeing as I'm the only one here, sees the signal coming up in front of itself, right? It sees this one. Otherwise, it could look weird if it sees this in front of the signal it's really trying to think about. Obviously, that doesn't matter gameplay-wise. It would just work just fine. But I don't like the idea that you can't see the signals for whatever reason, if I'm in the train, for instance. So it just gives a cleaner look to everything this way. So I'm just going to make a train. We'll just drive on down to the Caterium factory and start building out a very quick, temporary, ugly train station. Because that factory is probably going to change. So there's no point building a thing just yet, a really detailed train. I'm just going to put on 4 carriages. Alrighty. So this is it. So I want to have these every time we have these signals. They're sort of like big signal boxes, and then they're also the pillars that hold up the entire thing. We could just see I was working down there with stuff. I had to dump a bunch of my inventory. So basically, it's just a bunch of steel frames overlapping each other. But then also 2 lights at the top, 2 floodlights, and then some of the steel frames ramp inverted so that we can have this kind of arch support. I have that on the bottom as well. And I've also gone around the entire railway and done it the way I'd said I'd wanted to do for a while, which is concrete in the center with then these steel foundations or the steel frames off on the sides. So it's just 2 wide, 2 foundations wide with concrete through the middle to make it look a bit more sturdy. And then every 24 tiles, we're going to have these going all the way down to the bottom. And then we've even got a little thing that we can climb if we feel like for instance right now, I'm going to fall to my death. We can climb all the way to the top, sit on the top and have a look. There's a light switch up there. I've controlled how the lights are going to come on. They come on at nighttime, and it's being powered by a little cable that's following along the side of the tracks on the left side at the moment. Of course, I have a box here with a little bit of cable just in case something goes wrong. And is our thing here? No, it's on the other side. There we go. So our light control panel is here. So they'll come on it during the night. I then have just the road barrier just to make things look a little nicer, and I've got this, the walkway crossing. That's the industrial walkway crossing on the top, along with the railing that I guess either comes with it or I added. And then we have that kind of on the inside. I chose it on the inside because it has this nice kind of metal hanging frames as well below it, which just looks kind of cool. So that's kind of that. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot for just a complete aesthetic thing, but I think having... So I actually tried building another one, but that was my first go at it. And it's actually only one thick, like one foundation thick. This is two. Actually, I want to say that this is one. Sorry, this is actually just one. It's just using the walkway crossings, which are half foundation. So this is one full foundation, and that's a half one. And I just felt that wasn't good enough. It didn't look quite right. And because of the thinness of it, you can't have the inverted ramps. The inverted ramps only come in one foundation wide. You can't have it in half foundation wide. So to have the inverted things in there, I decided to double up the size of it. Requires quite a lot more steel doing that, but I think it looks a lot better. I'll be interested to see what you guys think of it. And at nighttime, hopefully on the way back, we'll see the lights come on and see what it looks like. Alrighty, here we are at the Caterium factory. Right there. So that's making my 420 Caterium. The lights have actually just come on now on those things, so I might see them on the way back. But basically, I'm just going to build out a very, very ugly looking and temporary rail station, like parallel to this. And then we'll just get the logistics hooked up. It's not about the beauty of this one. We've done enough of that. This one's just going to be pretty standard looking. Bring it all the way out there and just hook up the rail line to it. Build a station with like 2 platforms. You know, it doesn't need to be that big. And then I'll just feed the Caterium up to it. So for a brief reminder, before I do any more building, just run down to it really quickly. And you'll remember that there's 420 quick wire coming out of this factory, and it's mostly just all going into a bin and getting into the awesome sink. So we're just going to redirect that now. Yes, that's where it's flowing along. So I'm just going to probably create a wall hole here, create a big elevator, and bring it up to that area there into a station. So that's what I'm going to do now. Alright, so it's not the prettiest looking, but I've basically hooked up a belt that goes all the way from the Caterium factory all along here, up the most disgusting elevator shaft ever, and then into our lovely railway station, which is now being hooked up to the... Whoops, someone's flying through it. It's been hooked up to the main line. Pretty seamlessly, actually. It worked out really, really, really well. So if we're coming along this way, we can turn and get back out, and if we're coming along this way, we can go straight. If we're going out this way, we cannot go to the right. I just can't be bothered. It doesn't need to be there, because this is going to change in the future. This is more just about getting the Caterium quick wire to where it needs to go. So I have to get rid of the train briefly. So we'll just put down another train, and we'll just ride it back up to the oil processing plant. Caterium exports, yeah, this is all correct. Take it back up to the oil processing plant, and then basically hook up in the very same way we've just done now, hook up getting plastic in that railway station. And then we should just be able to organize the line, tell it which stations to hit, and it should just drop everything off and we'll start making circuit boards. This is where we have sorting and packaging. So this is probably full up. Yeah, 9,600. The rest of the plastic is just going off to be disposed of. And then some of it gets made into packaged fuel, but the packaged turbo fuel is now full up as well, just because these things have been running in the background with no collections. They're taking all the trucks offline. So I guess that's kind of good, right? We've got so much plastic here that we can definitely make a lot of circuit boards, but the actual production rate of plastic is something very small. I think it's 60, so it's not that big. We need 150, so we will eventually not be able to keep all the machines on, but early on, because we had so much reserve plastic, we can sort of power all the assemblers on if we want, and then just maybe power a couple of them down to keep it consistent. So what I'm going to do is really disgusting and heinous, but I'm just going to make a wall hole here, and very similarly just feed out all the stuff and send it over towards where it needs to go, because none of this was built with this in mind, which is why it's going to look like a disaster, but it has to be done. So we'll just get this, bring it up, somewhere to there, I guess. Tell that to go straight across. And there. So I'll climb up into the roof. I'll reorder and angle this, and I'll build that station just very quickly. And we can hopefully get this transport route set up. Alrighty. It's again really disgusting. But basically just like a bunch of concrete that leads out here so we can kind of put down a belt that carries things to it. This should be the last piece of the puzzle though. Just get rid of this. Clean it up a little bit. So this stuff obviously is temporary because, well, really we have other crude oil places here to exploit, and then I want to build like a proper plastic factory. But the upstairs part might not change too much. I think broadly speaking I'm going to be keeping the train stations where they are, just building a little bit more around them to make them look a little bit nicer. But I want to keep the progression going. We still did a lot of good stuff this episode, stuff that isn't temporary. So, you know, you got to balance the two, I guess. Let's just take our Mark IV belt. We'll just hook this up. Watch the plastic get flowing. And off it goes. Alright, so that's going to go up. So let's have a quick look at that railway station upstairs. So the station oil exports. There's an empty platform here and then a platform here for picking up the plastic, obviously. So plastic should be loading in there right now. All good. Now, thinking about it, you know, in future this place is probably going to be exporting quite a lot, and having empty platforms and stuff is a bit annoying. You could have another platform there, and then you'd end up needing those trains that go by that then have sorting facilities, like the smart splitter that tells it not to unload certain things, like it just reloads it or something. I don't know. It seems to get a bit messy. I'll try to figure that out as time goes on, but for now I'm just kind of working with the length of the locomotive. So I'm just like, oh, I know that this is going to be here, and then I know that this car is going to take on quick wire, and this is going to be plastic. And then this is going to be cable, and this is going to be screws. At least that's how I'm planning for it right now. So again, this was plastic, and then we'll just do the quick wire one just one more time. I should save these as colors actually, because I feel like I'm going to use them again. But we should see that. The reason you might not think there's any color right now, but we should see it when things are actually... Let's make this a red train. Why the hell not? When things are actually getting lifted and unlifted. So let's just... enter in, we'll set up our timetable, edit the timetable. We want to go to the oil exports and pick up plastic, of course. We want to go to Caterium, pick up Quickwire, and then we want to go to Circuit City imports and then begin the loop again. This is actually in between, so I guess there's no harm in visiting it in between. You don't have to unload both at the exact same time. Although unloading both at the same time would be nice for the machines, so let's just do it that way then. Alright, we'll hit save, we'll let it do its thing, turn on self-driving. We'll watch this first one get loaded and unloaded. It's not that much plastic in there. Now there's 1,000 in there right now. But hopefully if I've colored it correctly, we should see like a little blue kind of cargo storage container getting loaded in. Ah, it's not blue. It might get blue when it gets put down though, we'll see. Oh, it is blue, sorry. It's just the front was silver or white. Alright, cool. There we go. Plastic. About 1,000-ish plastic in that. We'll just ride the rails back over to the Circuit City, and we'll get out and then wait for our train to come. Actually, I suppose we'll just follow it, and I'll just maybe make a cut by the time we get down there. So this pillar doesn't really make sense anymore. Alrighty, here we are. Hopefully this will make the turn okay. Oh my god, the brakes are out. Holy crap, that is a sharp turn. Not gonna lie. But here we are at Caterium Exports. We can see some of the quick wire filling up. What do we have? Not nearly 10,000 already. Of course, we've had like a full container in there. Just sending stuff out. Just while it's doing that, let's just take a quick look. Yeah, the belt is rammed. It stops when it's actually loading. And there we go, we can see it's kind of quick wire colored. Nice to see. Sweet. Alright, so that's going to be a lot of quick wire, like 10,000 or something. We'll just have to wait for it to get done. And then 1,000 plastic. Plastic is always going to be shorter as well. Hear that creature flying right below me, actually. Pretty cool. Yeah, all flowing well so far. to Circuit City. Alrighty, here we are, Circuit City. The imports entrance is on the opposite side, so we have to kind of go up here and then make that right turn. Again, another sharp turn here at high speed. Holy crap. No problem though, no problem at all. Alright, we can just hop off. And we can see, of course, quick wire at the front and plastic at the second cart. This should be all hooked up and ready to go. So while it's doing that, I'm just going to run downstairs and we'll get in position to make sure that the logistics floor is handling everything correctly. So we should see things flooding down along here, along both entrances actually. So we'll stand about here. Once the loading and unloading gets done, these belts should be operating very quickly indeed, and then flowing downstairs. And then we have to power on the assemblers. There we go. Yep, they're both flowing. Looks good. Alright, it works. You never know until you just actually start feeding the machines. Alright, the manifold has begun. So, hopefully they're all going to get them. We'll check any belt problems down below then. And we can start turning on the machines in the control room. So obviously I have to finish those stairs. Again, I feel like Phil Dunphy in Modern Family. Gotta fix that step. So let's just have a look really quickly out here. I'm seeing a lot of full belts. Seeing a lot of full belts. Yeah, looks good. Let's just double check. Everything's got it. Yep, looks good. Alright, let's turn these bad boys on. I'm going to turn them all on, just because we know that we're overfilling this first time. Oh, nice, isn't it? That's good. We can just see it slowly creeping down. It's a shame about the reflections in this game. Need to add that ray tracing. I hope they do. So we can get real-time proper reflections. But there we go, all floating down. So what do they need? They need 37.5 and 12.5. So they're about to all start to come to life now in a second. Nice, they're all on. Excellent. So it takes quite a while to make the first batch. About 30-40 seconds. And then we're going to see a flood of circuit boards just all flooding out at the same time. Now, the next episode, we're going to start doing some of the manufacturing, and then I need to make a plastic factory. So we're going to start exporting and exploiting way more of the crude oil that's at our disposal, so we can kind of keep up the production here. That's going to allow us then to make... I see we're already running out of plastic. That's going to then allow us to make computers. Now, the next delivery should be coming in not too long anyway, with plastic. We should have a lot more kind of coming in as well. Are we making our first batches yet? Yep, we can see some moving along now. And there we go. That's it. That's what all this was for. So we can see a nice little gentle flow of circuit boards moving in. So what I'll probably do now is we'll turn off machines 4, 5, and 6, and maybe 10, 11, and 12. We'll turn those machines off, and that way we'll just let the other ones fill up. Alright, so they're off in future. We'll keep these two on for now. So we're at half production, but that should be enough to keep us going once we get our next few batches of plastic coming in. We're here already. Oh my days. What do we got? Hey, 2,000 plastic. Love to see it. 2,000 quick wire. About the same, actually. One difference. I suppose that's determined based on the rate at which it comes in from the belts. Nice. Alright, that's our next flood of plastic. That's really going to be it for this episode. We'll watch it come down one more time. Just hide our UI. So we'll see the back machine still getting full. I can't stop the belts from loading up. But they won't flow into the machine. So they'll get backed up really quickly, and then these ones will actually be the ones that are turned on and working. And that's what it's all about, guys. Watching belts, watching goods flow down. We could have belts that move them faster, but I kind of like to keep them at the speed they need to be at. Seems to make a bit more sense to me. Alright, anyway guys, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope people enjoyed it. Sorry for the sickness, as usual. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully I'm going on to a wedding, actually, again. I say again, last time I wasn't at a wedding, but this time I am. At the end of the month for a couple of days, so I really didn't want to just miss an episode straight after I said I'm only doing one a week. But hopefully it's a bit more worth it. It's probably going to be quite a long episode or a lot of editing in it, but hopefully I've cut out a lot of the chaff. So yeah, as always, leave some feedback. Let me know what you think and what you'd like to see. I'm looking forward to... I've already kind of done some of the designs or plans for the manufacturing room. Like I said, I'm going to be using some painted beams to kind of handle the cables. From my testing, it looks good, so I'm looking forward to showing that off to people as well. That's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching, and remember, if you want to support the channel directly, you can click the join button to become a channel member. Doing so will get your name in the credits, as well as loyalty badges and emotes to use in the comments. You'll also get exclusive access to my Discord, where there's dedicated channels for each series I'm doing, and it's a great place just to meet others and make some friends.